All right, Goose Chasers, we are back on Thursday this week. We are a day delayed due to some travel schedules and oh, just a lot of busy things, to be honest with you. But we are here nonetheless. It is Thursday, and we are rocking and rolling with a little bit of goose chasing. We got a lot to talk about today, Dino, don't we?
We do.
It's been a busy week. The last week we've gotten Food Plot Chronicles kicked off. That'll be coming to the YouTube channel here shortly. We also had a week of turkey camp up in New York, which was awesome. Uncle Jay, our buddy Chris, Dad, Cuzzy was up there for a day. Grandpa actually stopped by for a couple dinners and a breakfast. And it was, I don't know, just fun to be up in camp, to be honest with you.
Amazing.
The
You know,
weather
we
was
yeah,
perfect.
it was literally perfect and we never get that. We also never get like a week in camp in May. So,
In the spring, yeah, which
that's
is definitely going to be an annual thing, I think, from here on out.
necessary with how much work we're starting to do, all the food plot stuff. And this year was a little bit of an exception because it's just been a warm, pretty dry May, even April. I mean, we've really never been able to do food plot stuff in May, other than maybe spraying a field or two, but it's always way too wet to do anything. And this year's been a little bit different. So that's yeah, that was cool. Just based off the timing of when you guys all came up, the second, third week of May, it allowed us to get a lot of crap done, especially only being able to hunt turkey until noon. You got the whole afternoon, whole evening to work. So it was huge.
Yeah, big. It was a big week. Just for us personally up at camp and being able to knock off a lot of what is already a very long list of work chores and land management tasks that need to be carried out so that we can kind of hunt the way that we want to hunt, so that we can manage the land the way that we want to manage it, and we did that, and that was awesome. I mean, we were getting up at 4:30, 5 in the morning, turkey hunting until noon, maybe coming out for a quick breakfast at some point, and then we'd get lunch, and it would be right on the tractor, get on the side by side, go cut a path, go trim some lanes, go hinge cut some shit, move a blind, build a blind. I mean, we did it all, and I feel like in a week's time we revamped the property
Gave it some new energy.
a lot. Yeah, it gave it some new energy, gave it some new life. We got two new hard sided blinds up in spots where we always have typically like a marginal wind, and that's going to allow us to get into those spots more frequently if we so desire. Um, and then that allowed us to move the existing blinds that were there into two new spots that are going to be awesome as well. And we actually shifted a couple of our existing blinds in the food plots that they were in just to try and create some better access for ourselves, try and create some better viewage and better shooting and make them more diverse. So just from a blind, like elevated blind standpoint, we crushed it.
We did crush it. I think we built two, moved five, I think total. I think
Six.
I think
Well,
almost every blind besides one that we have, we either moved or yeah, we repositioned or whatever. The blinds are I mean, really a minimum of a minimum
task.
three, but really a four-man job
Oh, easily.
if you want to do it safely, which still sometimes isn't safe.
Oh my gosh,
But
dude, the one the one sorry to cut you off, but the one that we moved up in what we call Santa's field, we were taking this thing down, and this thing is massive and it's super, super heavy. I don't even know what brand of blind that is. It's like a Field and Stream or something. I don't know. But the stand is super wide and super heavy. And at that point, Uncle Jay was running to the store, I think, to prep some stuff for dinner. Dad hadn't gotten up there yet, so it was just you, Chris, and I.
three men.
And we were like, we're determined to go get the new blind built and up in this spot and the old blind out. Well, the old blind almost took out one of our comrades along the way. We were trying to lower this thing onto the trailer that we pulled up there with the ATV. And as we were lowering it, it gets to a certain point in its tipping where it's like you can balance it pretty well. Like the initial push to get it like kind of up and off the ground is kind of tough. And then you get it, it's very easy to kind of teeter it, but then it gets to a certain point where it's like, all right, the damn thing's top heavy, obviously.
We're going down.
And it's fight or flight. Like you either got to ride with it or you just got to like let it fall, or if you got enough people you can lower it down, but with 3 people that is really tough.
Yeah, it's almost not happening.
So Dean is under the one front leg. I'm on the back, the one, I think the right side back. Chris is on the left side back. And we're literally like arms up trying to just pull down on the back legs because they're about as high as they could be in the air before they, the blind just comes basically crashing down. And it got to a certain point. I kind of read the room. I'm like, this blind is going down. We just got to let it crash onto the trailer. And Chris held on and rode that thing. He literally held on to one of the back legs, and it friggin' flipped him up into the air and tossed him. And surprisingly, he landed on his feet. I mean,
he's like a cat.
Yeah, he is like a cat. He's a very agile human being, and he showed that. He showed that in that moment, but that was pretty funny. We actually, one of those, I think the clip we posted on our Facebook and Instagram, whatever, that he rode that thing out, but that was hilarious. Nobody was hurt, so we were obviously laughing pretty hard after that.
Those blinds, they actually come down a little, like you think they're going to get to like the 20-degree mark and just crash, but they actually kind of flip a little bit slower than you think, even though we're doing it into a trailer, so it's got less fall. But yeah, either way, it's a tough job doing that, moving those blinds.
Well, and I mean, for us, the blinds are so crucial for a couple different reasons. Number one, the just being able to get into the woods or get into a food plot or get into any area that we want to go into in inclement weather, whether it's windy, rainy, snowing, because the weather is so unpredictable up there. And for us, maximizing the time that we're there, sometimes, as we've said in the past, the best time to be out there is in inclement weather. Well, that doesn't really boast very well for being out in the elements with thousands of dollars worth of filming gear and stuff like that. And that's kind of where we've put ourselves at this point. But it allows us to get in and out of there in inclement weather. It allows us to hunt certain spots with marginal wins, once again, if we so desire. And it, I feel like it alleviates the pressure on those fields. You're not getting up and into a tree stand, and we have tree stands around these plots also, mostly for hunting like the scrape activity mid to late October into November, when you want to be out in the elements a little bit more and the deer are really running more than focused on the food. But in the blinds, it allows you to get in, kind of stay concealed, scent, movement, all that stuff, and get out sometimes for observation, sometimes for, an ambush on a successful hunt. But those blinds are just so crucial for us and what we do up there. And so one of our motives, obviously, this past week was to get those spots right. Like that was it. We have what, seven blinds, elevated blinds up there now, and we've kind of acquired these over the last 10 to 12 years, realistically.
Yep.
And so we just got 2 new ones this past year, but that's really what we utilize them for. And they're a very crucial tool for us, all throughout the season, literally early season, archery into the rut during, some inclement weather to get in and stay in certain spots for longer hours, and then late season on the food sources to be able to be there and be observing. It's they're very crucial, very beneficial for us. So we had to get those spots right, and I think we did.
Yes, again, especially with the long gun season.
Yeah,
Like you gotta invest in those types of setups, because that's usually when the weather's going to be the worst, and it's a long, if gun season's a week, we'd have a lot less of those. But unfortunately, New York likes to have a long firearm season.
well, and we don't make the rules, we just play by
Follow them.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
we just play by them. So that's it. It's rules for everybody. Like it's the neighbors are playing by the same rules and all that stuff. So everybody's kind of playing under the same or playing the same game. It's just so you kind of have to tailor that. In Ohio or different areas that we hunt, it's our tactics or the blinds may not be as necessary,
right.
throughout the entire season, but they are, and yeah,
There,
we got to get them.
we also, even when you have the right wind, like there's a lot of elevation changes. We're in a little bit of a bottom. There, the wind swirls. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter if it's constant or not. There's certain spots where it stays more constant, but there's others that it just doesn't. And being in a blind gives you an advantage, because when it whips around, you can clear a field off without you even knowing what happened, because you're like, my wind's good, but it
right.
just whips around, and that's something that we've learned over the last decade.
Yeah, no doubt. There is no doubt about that. Even like you could be like we've found like you could be just kind of over the crest of the hill, almost perfect to where you feel like the wind, you're up on a pretty big ridge and the wind is going to come right over top of you and just basically blow everything out over the valley. And sometimes it kind of has like a tidal wave effect where it'll blow the wind out over the valley a little bit, but then it'll like undertow, like come
Yeah,
back almost.
it's just rolling.
And deer will wind you in like almost upwind.
Yeah,
They'll get a whiff of you and you can tell by their behavior. And it's like, what the hell was that? But that wind is like literally going out and over the hill, and then it's like rolling right back up and almost to you. It's hard to think about like in that scenario. You just got to get the hell out of there
yeah,
because
it's
you're
tough.
kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because for part of it the wind is blowing correctly, but then if it's coming back to you, anywhere around your ambush setup, them deer are going to get a whiff, and a mature buck is definitely going to get a whiff.
Yeah, and it's the challenge of hunting that specific property. We'll be at camp. You'll look at the flag and you'll be like, okay, wind's doing the exact same. The weather apps are saying it's a constant 10 mile an hour, whatever, southwest wind. Then you'll get to a spot and you're like, why is it blowing northeast
Yeah,
like constantly? And that's
yeah,
just why it's coming over an elevation change or whatever. It's just rolling, and that's what it's doing in that specific area. You could go 30, 50 yards and maybe it's doing its normal thing, but something you have to something you have to take into account, as opposed to hunting flatland like out in Kansas and whatever. It's just like you're going to get your constant
right.
breeze.
Yep. There ain't no doubt.
Ain't no
Ain't no doubt.
doubt.
Well, yeah,
Speaking of Kansas,
speaking of Kansas. Oh yeah. Tell them. You tell them.
speaking of Kansas, I think it was yesterday. Everybody finds out. Well, not
Well,
everyone did.
not everyone. Parker said on his story that people are going to find out periodically through tomorrow, Friday, I believe.
We
But
we haven't gotten our official emails yet, but we did get charged for 2 Kansas tags. So it looks like Dave and I both drew our Kansas bow tags this year, which is going to be lit.
yeah, it is going to be lit. I cannot wait to get back.
We don't even know when we're going or
We
anything
don't
like
even
that
know
yet.
we
But
don't know when
we're
we're going,
going.
but we are going. We're definitely at some point going to be going throughout, part of the rut. We want to experience that for sure. The cool part is Parker kind of said, like, come out, come out a time, come out twice, come out whatever. So whether, yeah, I don't know. We'll kind of have our options open, and picking dates for that, but I cannot wait to get back to Kansas. And for me, a little bit of redemption for Dino. It'll be cool to get the bow in his hands, and yeah, that adventure in our hunting journey and our whitetail journey will continue. It feels like a full, like, refreshing start. It almost feels like going back, whatever, 11, 12 years when we first started going out to North Dakota. Except when we first started going out to North Dakota, like, that was really our first out of state, experience. Obviously, we hunt New York, we hunt Ohio at the time. So
That's all home to us though.
we grew up as out of state hunters in New York. Like, that's what we did. We grew up. That's how we grew up hunting we were out of staters, but
But we weren't.
that was technically our home turf. So when we started going out to North Dakota, like, that was our first ever, like, out of state. We have no experience here. We don't have our dad, uncles, grandpa that are kind of like showing us the way. This is the lay of the land. This is how the deer move. This is what happens here. And we were kind of, I mean, not kind of, we were figuring that out all on our own. We would get some help from the landowners, some help from locals, whatever. But with Kansas, it's a little bit, it feels a little bit different. Number one, it's Kansas. The whitetail hunting is just second to none, world renowned, however you want to say it, put it. But we're different hunters now also. The learning and having kind of combated a few different states and dissecting the deer and how they move and the land, and just learning new areas, we've kind of put ourselves in that situation more times since we started hunting North Dakota, whatever, 11, 12 years ago. So now hunting a new state, you have a whole new, like, bag of tricks, knowledge to go off of, and the deer hunting is amazing. So it's like we kind of got thrown right into the mix last year, and I don't know, we felt like we were right smack dab in the middle of the game starting out, and I mean, we
We
were.
were. Yep.
We were. So it's cool to be able to just dive into a new state, new land, and really the hunting be as profound as it is right off the bat.
It was insane for December.
Yeah. And
It was insane, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice seeing the tag in your digital wallet,
yeah,
and you can start getting excited to start a new adventure for the year.
plan. And yeah, I mean, Parker's already sending pictures of bucks that are tipping the ears, and it's just, yeah, it's crazy that we're gaining on June and we're literally months away
Yep,
from doing this shit again.
it's gonna fly.
It is gonna fly.
Always does.
So yeah, we got the coveted Kansas tags. Actually, Dad applied for a tag. Haven't heard from him yet. Uncle Jay applied. I think Chris applied for a tag also, and really haven't heard anything out of their camp quite yet. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to that for sure, and definitely grateful for another opportunity to head out to Kansas.
Hell yeah.
So also, we got Food Plot Chronicles starting here soon. Why don't Dino? Why don't you give him a little rundown of how we're going to do that this year?
Yeah,
We're do things a little different.
we are doing a little different. The last, I don't know, handful of years, we've just been taking it step by step. From spraying to disking or tilling to fertilizing, whatever, liming, planting, like through the whole process, and we kind of did it step by step. So like, one week we'd be spraying and this and that. And it's kind of, we want people to see more of the full package of why we're doing what we're doing in specific areas, because it definitely changes from spot to spot. So we're going to take this year, we're literally going to take basically field by field and setup by setup, and walk through exactly what we're doing in that field, how we have it set up, why we have the food that we have in there, what we're putting in there, and just why we're maintaining it the way we're maintaining it, because there's a reason for everything. The size of the fields all matter, and what we're putting in the specific area, if it's super close to a bedding area, or if it's just kind of out in the corner of on the corner of your property, whatever the situation is. Financially, that plays a role in what you're putting in a field. If you have another food plot that's 200 yards away with something specific in it, that's going to play a role in what the next field has. There's so many factors in all of that stuff, and we want to bring people through the whole process of why we're putting in what we're putting in, and why we're doing what we're doing, why our blind is in this specific spot on the field. So we're going to take literally food plot by food plot on the property and dissect it and show you exactly how we have it set up, so that you guys, you might say, okay, I have a field that's very similar to that. Maybe
what do I do with it?
Yeah, this is something that I can do with it. Doesn't mean you have to do what we're doing with it, because we might change up what we're doing from year to year, but it gives you an idea of the reasons we're doing what we're doing, and you can kind of take something from it to help you hunting this year, because like I said, we have a reason for everything, and then every field is different. So it's not just doing the same thing to every field. There's a lot that goes into it. So it's going to be kind of cool to show you the full step process from a field to field basis, instead of just the general, like how to plant a food plot.
Right. Yeah. Which that's kind of what we've focused on over the last probably 40 years on food plot crannies, is like kind of the development of how to plant a food plot and how we've gotten better at them and what we've done different, year after year, specifically with like the corn and the beans, because that's probably the toughest thing to plant if you're managing deer, because
Definitely.
you need the most equipment. It takes the most time and maintenance. It's not just, spraying a plot, tilling it, and throwing seed down at the end of the summertime like the fall plots are, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's, we've been kind of focused on the process of like step by step of what to do and how to plant a food plot. But now we're going to dive into like why. And that we're excited about that. We're not going to be able to dive into like each food plot that we have, but we're going to pick, probably the 4 or 5, I don't know, like I don't want to say best ones, but the ones that like
Some
make
di-
make
some
the biggest.
diversity.
Yeah, we're gonna pick some diversity. We're gonna definitely do some corn and some beans, and why the setups are the way that they are. But we want to dive into some of our micro food plots as well, because those have been extremely effective for us over the years, and it's kind of what got us started into this whole land management food plot game. So we want to dive into that, because for the listeners and the viewers out there, like if you've never planted a food plot before, this is somewhere you can start, and it can be just as effective as it's been for us. And we want to go through tree stand setups and blind setups. Okay, we've got a blind on this plot, and we've got 2 different tree stand locations on this plot. What are they for? Why? Why is that like a little bit redundant or overkill or whatever? And just kind of the reasons why we do that, and the different winds that we hunt, and everything. There's so much, like Dean said, that goes into the deciding factors of what we plant, where we position ourselves, and why. Um, and a lot of it's based off of previous knowledge and observation while hunting. And so I'm looking forward to diving a little bit deeper, into some of this stuff and being able to show you guys.
Yeah.
You guys.
You guys.
Being able to show you guys.
Yeah, and some of the if you're thinking about just dabbling in food plots, you can do stuff without having a tractor and a tiller, or like there's things you can do to improve a spot or get some clover in the ground, do these little like poor man food plots. If you say, I don't want to spend $1,000 on a food plot, well, you don't have to.
No.
You might have to put a little extra, blood, sweat, and tear, man hour power into it, but that's fine. You can get something done with something. So
Yeah. Well,
it's all about it's all about your availability, your time availability, what you're going to have time to maintain,
right.
and how much money you want to put into something.
That's a very valid point. The time to maintain is a large factor in
huge
deciding what you're going to plant, because
you're not just going to plant and go forget about it.
Right. If you
really, with anything you plant, but
yeah, but specifically if you want to do like beans or corn or anything like that needs to be tended to throughout the entire summer.
Yeah.
You're either fencing the beans or you're spraying the plots, a couple times throughout the summer to control the weeds. I mean, and so if you have a smaller area, like that makes it harder, more difficult to maintain some of that stuff, because also the deer are a factor too, and them foraging on what you're trying to grow throughout the summertime. There's so much, but we're gonna one of the cool.
I was gonna say, yeah, deer density is another huge factor in what to plant.
Right.
Because there's things you can plant that might sound the best, or like, I want to make a soybean plot because that's what everyone says is the best. Well, if your deer density is too high, it could be a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean,
there's certain spots on our property where we've beat basically a dead horse, and every year we'll try to put a soybean food plot in this one spot, and it just doesn't pay off, because
it grows great though.
It grows great, but even if we fence it, when we take the fence down, the window to hunt it is so short because the deer just smoke it in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So with all the time you put in throughout the summer to get 3 weeks of hunting, it's not paying off for us. And we've kind of almost been hard-headed about certain spots like that. Like, oh, no, we're going to make it work this year. But now we've just learned, no, we got to just put something else in there so that we can have the most effective amount of time to hunt. Like, you want to extend your huntability of that food plot.
Well,
and
yeah,
if the food's gone, it doesn't help you a lot.
Right. With the time that no matter what you're planting and where, it's time consuming. It's time, it's money, it's effort. So when you calculate the time, money, and effort that it's taken to do some of this stuff, and then you look back and you're like, well, shit, we only got 2 to 3 weeks of hunting out of it. And then and it's not like, we don't live there. So it's not like you're hunting 2 to 3 weeks solid and that's where you're hunting and you're taking full advantage of it. Like those 2 to 3 weeks, maybe you got a couple hunts in those 2 to 3 weeks based on the wind or whatever. So when you start to think about it like that, it's, you have to make those decisions in order to really like be effective and get the most bang for your buck when you're doing all this stuff. So and two, like you said, the smaller properties not having the equipment, like one of the things we're going to take you guys through, like I'm down here in Tennessee, the least that I have is 25 acres. It's 25 acres. I don't have a piece of food plotting equipment here, but I'm going to try and and I've already started to like expand my resources in order to get help with that, but in order to create a small but effective food source on this specific piece of property in order to just give the deer a reason, give the deer a conjugating reason. The areas around this piece of property are so awesome, and it's big, it's open, it's vast. There's some ag around there. The deer and turkey thrive in this area, and the piece of property I have to hunt is awesome. It's thick. It's tough to hunt. it's tough to access some of the spots. But the main goal for us now is to create a, basically a conjugation point. Like create a point where maybe the deer aren't going to spend hours feeding in this specific area, but when they're in the area, they're going to come check it out. Maybe it's to grab a bite, maybe it's to check a scrape, whatever the case may be. But that's kind of our like vision. And Dean's helped me with, kind of concocting this plan of, okay, the property's great when the rut is going because it's so thick. It seems like the bucks want to push the does onto this specific piece of property. But all throughout October and into the later part of December, it, at least based on observation from trail cameras and hunting it last year, it was a little slow. It needs that food source to give it a pop, and I think that it could be very effective if we can execute. But nonetheless, I guess my point is we're going to take you guys through that process as well. So it's not just, us showing you our couple 100-acre farm where, we've kind of groomed it over the last years to perfect the food plots. Like, we're going to start from scratch on a couple spots and see what we can come up with.
A little bit of scratch. Also, I mean, even turkey is also that's also a factor in this. Like, if that's part of your goal and you want a spot to hunt in the spring, like that's going to be a factor in what you plan, because that's what we do specifically up at our camp too. You got to have some clover plots. Obviously those are huge for the deer too, but it benefits the turkey as well. So
yeah, no doubt.
That'll be fun.
The turkey, the elusive turkey.
That'll be fun. Something we didn't have. Well, we killed it this year, but just that
we have killed. I mean, the year's not over yet.
Yeah, no, we have killed it, but the season specifically at our camp in New York has been weirdly slow. But it's what we've found that with turkey is it can quickly go up and quickly go down.
Yep.
Just in your specific, it doesn't mean like the state population is way up or way down. It just birds are they're very local, so there could be spots, within a 5 square mile where it's just loaded with birds. And then you go to the next 5 square miles and there's just not nearly as many. I think we're just in one of those pockets at the moment, but we have a lot of birds. Seems like we just don't have a lot of longbeards.
Well, we've still killed 3 in New York as a squad. Yep. Well, no, we've filmed 4 birds get shot in New York. So, you can't hate on it, really. Shit. We've gotten 11 birds on film so far this year. And Dean, my dad, they still got tags up in New York and Ohio. We're going to be done here in Tennessee. I think today's actually the last day, ironically. I got to check this out. I don't know why it would be. I want to. Oh, okay. No, the 26th. So that goes through what? Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. Okay. So we got a couple more days of season down here in Tennessee. I don't know if I'll end up actually getting out at all, but yeah, it's been an awesome season for us. We going back to our week up in New York, we were kind of scrapping and clawing for birds a lot, especially on our land, and it forced us to go out and find them, and we did. Multiple different spots, found a bird here and there, knocked on doors, called, used OnX to our advantage, to, just kind of get in touch with property owners and stuff like that. And actually struck up a couple pretty solid relationships, ironically, got no's out of those permissions, but struck up some relationships that I feel like could benefit us in the future as far as getting permission or getting leases or just kind of acquiring more land up there, which is pretty cool. But the last day, our neighbor's son called me the night before at like 10 o'clock, and he was like, I got, I was haying this field and saw a couple longbeards strutting just before dark, whatever. I think we can get in and get on these birds. So I'm like, oh, dude, I'll go with you, man. Let's go. So we went in, I mean, in the dark. Meanwhile, this is a property that I've never been to before. So I'm just going off of what he said. Like, I'm just going off of, hey, tell me where the birds were at when you last saw them. Where were they going? What were they doing? What time was it? This, that, and the other. So we set up on the edge of this cut cornfield based on that, set out the decoys. We had this sick little ambush. We were kind of back a couple trees in this tall grass. Like, we were positioned right next to each other. So we could communicate, we could see a lot, and it was just a perfect setup. Well, right as the sun was rising, the fog rolled in, and it was a dense, dense fog. And it was probably an hour before we heard anything. And we finally heard a hen start talking kind of back to our left, but in this cut cornfield was massive. And you could tell she's kind of making her way what seemed like to be out in front of us, but the fog was so dense you couldn't see her. Like, you could hear, like, felt like she was close
Visible.
or
Or should have
gaining,
been.
yeah, gaining on it, but you couldn't see her. Well, she yelped probably 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden the gobblers fired up in the woods, like right where he said that they kind of last went. Meanwhile, like I said, this was a half hour, 45 minutes for sure after fly down. So these birds are well on the ground at this point. They fire up, the hens fire up, they're talking back and forth to each other, and you could tell they're both just converging, like they're getting closer and closer, and they're on either side of us. I'm like, this is going to be perfect. Like, they're going to see the decoys, and then it's like, this is going to work. They're going to call each other to each other, and they're going to see the decoys, and everything's going to converge, into one. Well, they did end up calling each other to each other. The once the longbeards hit the field, we couldn't see them again because of the fog. Like, it was so crazy. They were gobbling. It seemed like they were right there, and because of the fog, we couldn't see them. Well, finally, they got like probably 80 to 100 yards out in the field, and you could just see the fan of the one strutter going back and forth, and I'm binocling them and filming. You could barely see this friggin' bird, and at that point they shut up, and I'm like, dude, they caught up with the hens. They met up. I don't know how we didn't see the hens, but they met up, and they were together. At that point, I'm like, all right, well, this is pretty good because we've got a big open cut cornfield. It's foggy, but these birds, I think, are going to just try and make their way around the field. And hopefully, as they're doing that, they can get close enough where they see these decoys, and we might be in the chips. We might have to be patient for a little while, but I think this is going to work. And dude, it did, man. They worked themselves out of sight for a little bit, and then they came back up over this hill. And when they came back up over the hill, they were kind of walking their way right towards us. And the hen started yelping again. I don't know if she saw the decoys or what, but she started yelping again. And I didn't, me, I don't have a diaphragm call in. Our buddy Colin did. So I'm like whispering to him. I'm filming. I'm whispering to him. I'm like, dude, when she yelps, you yelp. When she yelps, you yelp. Just say what she's saying. And it worked. And it, dude, brought them friggin' birds right into the decoys, literally full strut in the fog. The footage and just the whole experience was just, it was mystical. It was insane. It was crazy. I don't know. It was just one of those hunts where you're just like, wow, like, I can't even believe this is going on literally right in front of me right now. Well, I won't give up the story because I want you guys to watch it on our YouTube channel. The hunt was absolutely insane. This was only the beginning of what was an insane hunt, but I will tell you, we came out of there with 2 birds. We each got a bird, and I'll just leave it at that. It was an unbelievable way to cap off just the week that we had up in turkey camp. The point of the week was for turkey camp, but also we were there to help Dino out and get a bunch of chores done and knock off a bunch of the food plot stuff for for this spring and summertime, and we did all of it. And so to end it off with a daily double as far as the birds go was a sweet way to cap off the trip.
Hell yeah. Yeah. No, it's an incredible hunt.
So we'll have that up, and actually the full week of leading up to that will be launching on our YouTube channel starting this weekend. So y'all stay tuned for that. It's going to be good stuff.
Good stuff.
Well, Dino, we got a couple announcements that we want to talk about, and we'll have a little bit more of official announcements and stuff like that on our social media. But if you're goose chasing, well, you guys get the inside scoop. So congratulations.
You guys get to hear it before anybody else.
That's pretty much it. Where do you want to start?
Well, we have a couple exciting new partners that we are going to be working with. Very exciting. I'll start with one, and it hits home to me. But yeah, we've been shooting a bow for a lot of years, and this year we're changing up who we're working with in that category. It's Hoyt.
We will be shooting Hoyt.
We will be shooting Hoyt. And you know what? Dad and I specifically, we shot Hoyt like when we were starting to get, Dad did.
Uncle Jay too.
Uncle Jay too. Yeah, we shot Hoyt growing up, at least when Dave and I were growing up, and we were sitting between their legs on ladder stands while they were hunting. That like these were the goose chasing stories and stuff that we started with. It was Hoyt.
Very true.
So my first two bows were Hoyts, which I loved them. So yeah, it just kind of feels back to our roots a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I'm super pumped. We got the bows in our hands. We've already been shooting them. They're insane machines. They're literally incredible. They feel insane. Setups are awesome. So we are I can't wait to get one in the woods with me.
Yeah, I mean it's honestly it's an honor. It feels good, and like being able to have the opportunity to even be in this position is something that we don't take lightly. We're extremely grateful for. We've worked very hard to do this. I mean, we've been doing this tag and brag thing for over 10 years now, and we're just kind of getting to the point over the last couple years where we've been able to kind of control our own destiny a little bit from a business standpoint. We're starting to attract the eyeballs that can dictate, or where we can kind of dictate where we want to be and who we want to be working with. And the whole partnership thing in the hunting industry is a funny business. We've been through it. We've been through the ringer, the ups and downs. One of the things that means the most to us, God bless you, is the relationships that we build with the people that we're working with, and for a number of different reasons, but for no other reason than the fact of like the trust factor, and I'm going to go to bat for you and you're going to go to bat for me. And so, with some of the companies that we've worked with in the past, whatever, maybe those relationships have either fizzled out, or some of those people have changed positions or changed companies. And that makes a difference too, because you're not just attaching yourself to the company or the brand. You're attaching yourself to the people that are behind it. And we've learned that it's very difficult to work with somebody or people that just kind of tell you what you want to hear and give you what you want. And because we're here to promote hunting as a whole, we're here to, kind of enhance the sport of hunting in hopes that, maybe other people get involved. Maybe a new person, says, hey, I want to try that. I want to pick up a bow. I want to pick up a gun. I want to go hunting with a friend. Or they just want to learn about it. It could be people that don't hunt at all that just want to learn about it a little bit. And if we can be, kind of those middle people in bridging that gap, like that's what we're here for. And so the people that are attached to that brand are just as important as the brand itself. And Dean and I, all of us at Tag and Brag, we've never just accepted a brand deal or a company just for the money. Like that's just not, I take that back. We've done that a time or two, and it hasn't felt right, and it was very short-lived because of that. And so now, like, we really, I mean, this has been a couple year process realistically of, okay, we didn't necessarily feel loved or appreciated for what we do with the other company that we are working with. We want to expand ourselves in the archery field. We want to work with a company that truly believes in us, that like is going to say, do your thing and we support it. And we had many conversations with many different people. There was a lot of people who dangled a carrot, and we quickly learned like this ain't gonna work. Like just based off of previous experiences, this is a carrot that is gonna be short-lived, or they're telling us what we want to hear right now. And the folks at Hoyt literally, once we got connected, they said, hey, we just want you guys on the squad. We don't want you to change anything that you're doing. We want you to be you, do you, but we want you to do it with Hoyt bows in your hands. That to us, there's no, all right, tell me where to sign. Like there's no better deal. There's no better start to the partnership, because that trust in us allows us to just go and do our thing and believe in our, like, just go, like stay on the path that we are kind of envisioning, but just with, with that equipment in our hands. So, to say we're excited about that is an understatement, honestly. And, new energy, new equipment, the equipment's amazing. It speaks for itself. And for it to be one of, one of the top two realistically bow companies in the world to come to us and say that is extremely humbling. And I mean, once again, we don't take it lightly, and we're very honored and excited to be shooting Hoyt this year and for many years to come.
Yeah. Very exciting stuff.
So that's the first one. The second one is, if you can see my hat, we are going to be switching broadhead companies to Rec Broadheads.
Look at that.
We're joining the wrecking crew. And we are very excited about that. We have a good buddy and friend, Matt Taggett, and his father have started this company. He's also got more of our buddies on board. Unfortunately, they're a Michigan-based company, which come the last week of November is going to be a little bit tough for us to coexist, so to speak, being Ohio State people. But we'll get past it. We'll get past it. No, Matt is a good friend of ours. He's been in the hunting industry as long as we have. Kind of got into the filming side of it early on, realized that wasn't necessarily the way that he wanted to go about things. And him, I don't really know the full story. We'll have him on to tell the full story of the broadheads, but they created Rec, I don't know, probably 4-5 years ago, maybe, and have built this company. The brand is awesome. What they stand for is amazing. The innovation that they've already come up with in a short amount of time is pretty incredible. And they're American made. They're a Michigan-based company. For us, it was kind of pulling at our heartstrings to be a part of this and help grow something and help grow with someone that we kind of came up in this industry with to begin with. And we had amazing opportunities with Dirtnap and with Tom Adelman. Still a great friend of ours. Wish him nothing but the best and grateful for the opportunities that he's given us. But
yeah, that was one of the toughest things, because you and I, we talk about relationships.
Yep,
as the biggest part of the partnership, and
it is.
Yeah, and Tom at Dirtnap is awesome. Like,
Is as good as it gets
yeah,
as a human
it's
being.
as good as it gets, and as being just a real person in this industry, because there's a lot of fugazi. There's a lot of fugazi. Yeah, so that was honestly the toughest part of this, because there's like literally there's nothing bad to say about Dirtnap and Tom. He's just he's an awesome guy, awesome business guy, and even better friend that just we relate to on so many levels. So that relationship will never go away. So
it was probably one of the tougher decisions that we've had to make in this
for sure.
In this whole journey. I mean, it's
toughest.
You're pulled in two very different directions, but very meaningful directions. And it came down to Matt's. He's our age. He's moonlighting, trying to build this broadhead business. He's done an amazing job with it, and it really made us feel like us, or it made it feel like us, and us trying to just get TAGNBRAG off the ground and figure out which way we want.
Jobs. He's working till whatever midnight, sleeping for 4 hours trying to get this thing off. There's so many cool things about the story of Rec.
And once again, not that Tom didn't from Dirtnap,
100%.
obviously, but they want they want us. They want us to help build this brand. They want us to help be the face of of their company, and that is just, I mean, it's hard to ignore, honestly. Like it's hard to ignore when people are that adamant on like exactly why you're there and what you're building and what you're doing, and they they want to support that. It's hard to ignore. So we're excited about that partnership as well. Once again, we'll have kind of more of an official announcement here in the next week or so, but wanted to tell you Goose Chasers first and foremost, and let y'all relish in some of the new partners. We got Hoyt, and we are going to be a part of the Wrecking Crew, and I'm excited about it.
New year, new look.
Hell yeah, baby. Well, Dino, you got anything else?
I got 3 minutes left on my camera.
Mine just died. Mine just died.
Well, I'm getting ready to head up to camp this evening to start planting some spring stuff.
Hell yeah. Keep that Food Plot Chronicles rolling, baby.
Keep her rolling.
Well, it was a good sesh. A lot to unpack in this episode, and we appreciate y'all hanging out as always. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. We will have a ton of great content coming out over the next coming weeks. The end of turkey season content, the start of Food Plot Chronicles, and we got a little surprise for you coming down the pipe. We got a little series called After the Chase that is going to be coming out in the next month or so, and y'all have to stay tuned for that. It's a project we've been working on for a couple months now, and I'm excited about it, and we're excited about it. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Follow on Spotify or whatever you ingest your podcast. Share this with somebody. Please share the love.
Please
share the TAGNBRAG love. And we'll see you right back here next Wednesday for another episode of Goose Chasing.
Love y'all.
Peace.